And I'll have good afternoon all, and welcome to the Standards Committee. Unfortunately, half an hour late. So we'll make a hopefully a rapid start. So first of all, any apologies? We've got one for Jonathan Coulden, who's involved in an important meeting about monitoring officers in England. But he has left me some notes as to his views. Any others? Okay. Moving on then to the minutes of the previous meeting on the 30th of October 2024. I assume everybody's had a chance to have a read through of it. Are there any matters that need changing or arising?
We've got terrible feedback on our end. Sorry, Chair, but it sounds like building works are happening.
They are. Well, there is some work outside, Clive.
Oh, right, okay.
So my laptop sound is off, everybody else's sound is off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sensitive system.
So there might be some drilling.
Okay, so can we have a proposal and a seconder for the minutes?
Yeah.
Nigel proposes and Russell seconds. Right.
Councillor Liz has got a hand up, Chair.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Liz. You're on mute.
Thank you, Chair. It's not a correction to the minutes. It's a matter arising. I just wondered what the response was to the request in December at the wider meeting about support for officers, for members when complaints are made against them. I wondered what kind of response that got when it was raised by the monitoring officer.
Very limited response, Councillor Liz, unfortunately. And now that you've reminded us again, I think we need to go back and ask for some sort of response. So thank you for reminding us about that.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So are there any declarations of interest from members relating to the items being considered on the agenda? No? All silence? Okay, thank you. Now we move on to Clive and the report of the head of legal and monitoring officer. Clive.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Can I just apologise on the broadcast for the delay in the start of this meeting, which has been delayed by 30 minutes due to ICT problems. I apologise to members of the committee and to the public for the problem which we are encountering. I have asked for a report about what the problem is so we can ensure that we learn the lessons and move forward. Chair, coming back now to my report, which you'll see starts on page 7 of the agenda bundle. The first item on the agenda is general standards issues. You'll see there's none to report. The second item on the report deals with references to the Public Service Ombudsman of Wales in respect of code of conduct matter. Members will see that the Ombudsman is investigating 4 matters, one of which dates back to 2023. I understand from the chair that Jonathan Goulding has raised a query with regard to the earliest one, which is the matter arising from 17th of April 2023. All I can say is that these matters are progressing by the Ombudsman. They have legitimate reasons for the delay in the investigating process, and I can't say any more than that, apart from the fact that members will recall that a couple of meetings ago, the chair and this committee decided to write to the Ombudsman asking for an update on the reasons for delay, which was considered at the last meeting. What they said in that meeting was basically that they're doing the best they can, but there are reasons, legitimate reasons why these things are being delayed.
Thank you.
Councillor Bev has got a hand up, Chair.
Councillor Bev.
Yeah, I just wanted to, it's a comment really rather than a question, official question, but should we be concerned about the number of complaints that are being put forward? So if we just look at this last year, so if we go from sort of April, well, if we include March, but April, I think there's 15 or 16 reports that have been sent in, obviously complaints, but only one is actually being investigated. I just wondered, I don't suppose, do you know if these complaints are coming from other councillors? Are they coming from the members of the public, or is it?
Yeah, these are matters we'll be discussing later on.
Okay,
So
thank you.
We'll come back to that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Fine.
Thank you, Chair. I can deal with those later on, but the last ones all dated the 14th of January, all relate to a single meeting which was made, and a complaint made by a member of the public. Chair, so on to the next page, which is dispensations. There are no dispensations. Item D on the, sorry, Councillor Liz has got a hand up, sorry.
Yes, Chair, it's only to say that I've got a message up saying that there's someone waiting in the lobby.
Yeah. I heard a bell, but I can't see them.
Councillor Deeks de Silva is waiting to be coming to the subcommittee meeting.
Yeah, and the other individual is also.
Okay, I'll just remove that then, thank you.
Chair, sorry for the interrupt. Oh, Councillor Williams got a hand up.
Thank you, Clive. Chair, could I inquire what identity checks are standard when a complaint is made to the Ombudsman in relation to the veracity of an individual's persona, or what are the due diligence measures taken by the Ombudsman or anybody else in that process? It's sometimes a matter of curiosity to members and others involved.
Councillor William, I'm afraid I don't know what checks are carried out by the Ombudsman's office upon receipt of complaints. I assume that there are some, but I take an action from this meeting to make that inquiry with the Ombudsman and to report the response back at the next meeting.
I'm very grateful for that, Clive, because clearly it's very important that things are properly investigated and that no corners are cut. But given the level of public resource that goes into pursuing these matters, I think it's appropriate that we are reassured that we don't have individuals under the cloak of some other identity rather than their own.
I'm not aware that there's been any such cases, Councillor William.
No.
I'm just not aware of any single item where that's taken place. But I heard your query, and I'll respond. I'll make an inquiry with the Ombudsman and come back.
That would be very reassuring. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Sorry, just one question about concerning this list. Certainly the ones that are going back for one more than a year, and the others will be approaching their annual thing. Does Clive, do you keep in touch with the people that who have had a complaint made about them, in terms of their well-being, that they've got sufficient information, all the information that they need, and reassured that the delay is justified? I'm just concerned that when these sort of cases go on, it doesn't do people's health any good.
It's a really good question, Councillor Nigel. And of course, what we do is respond to any queries which we have from any of the members who are involved in these investigations. Any queries are dealt with by Debbie Jones, and so she does provide any comfort that needs to those members, and we don't have a formal process. But if any member needs assistance, they do contact Debbie.
Right, but we, as a committee, we don't provide any proactive support. We wait for them to come to us.
It's a little difficult because you have the issue of the ombudsman's making an investigation,
Yeah.
and of course we can't be seen even a little bit to be interfering in that process.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we must remain totally independent.
Yeah.
Debbie, do you want to add anything further to what Simon just said?
Hi, Chair. No, I'd agree with Clive. I think it's very difficult because the Ombudsman conduct their investigations, and I'm not always kept appraised of what stage they're at, so I don't always know. But hopefully, members will know that they are more than welcome to contact me at any time if they need any support, or if I can do anything to assist that process. Likewise, the Ombudsman will contact me and ask me to contact members if they want, they need some extra information. But generally, I'm kept out of that process. So, yeah, and I do seek, I don't know if Clive said, sorry, I was in another meeting, apologies, I'm late, but I don't always I do ask for updates quite regularly, and I'm just told the investigation's ongoing, and that's as much information as I get. So, but I do keep asking for updates, particularly on, I know we've got 4 that are quite old ones, so I do ask for updates, but my response, the response I receive is always, they're ongoing. So. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Ian, your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was just wondering whether there should be more of an expectation for the Ombudsman to try and offer a bit more support on long-standing complaints and issues for somebody who's been investigated. I know from my own experience, I had one that was going on for 3 years effectively, and I know there was good support coming from the local authority, from our council, but I just wonder, is this something that the Ombudsman should be looking at a little bit more in terms of what they can offer in terms of support, but also as Debbie just said, if we're tracing them up, they're just saying that they're constantly looking into these. Well, surely it doesn't take as long to investigate something as what they're taking on occasions, as I said, up to 2 or 3 years. I know some complaints are perhaps more complicated than others. Sorry.
Yeah, at the forum meeting, they advised that there had been almost as many cases this year as last year. And last year there was a huge increase on the previous year. So they're dealing with an awful lot of cases. I believe a recruitment drive is on the way, but obviously it takes quite a long time for that to work through.
Yeah.
So it's unsatisfactory, but that's where we are.
Chair, again, it's a really good query from Councillor Ian, and indeed, I think I'll take an action upon myself to write to the Ombudsman and indicate that there has been a query from our Standards Committee as to what support the Ombudsman can give, and again report back to the committee at the next meeting as to the response that we have. So thank you very much for raising it, Councillor Ian.
Yeah, thank you, Clive. Thank you.
A very valid query. Okay, back to you, Clive.
Thank you, Chair. Moving on then. So as I indicated, section C of the report, there are no dispensations requested for this committee. We have one coming up, but for the subcommittee, but we will deal with it then. As always, Chair, we always give a link to the Ombudsman's findings, and that's there for everybody to look at and to interrogate. As always, we also give a link to decisions for the adjudication panel for Wales. Members will be recalled that matters are referred to the adjudication panel for Wales if the Ombudsman considers that the sanction could exceed 6 months, or alternatively where there is an appeal from a decision of a Standards Committee. So those decisions are there at section E. Chair, you kindly attended the National Forum for Standards Committee on the 27th of January on behalf of this committee. Your report is found in Appendix A. Chair, members will see that report starts on page 11 of the agenda bundle. Members, I've taken the liberty of asking the Chair whether he wished to address his report or whether he's happy to take questions based upon its contents. And the Chair has indicated that he's simply happy that members will have read his report and will take any questions that you may have. I can't see any, Chair.
No? Well, the full report will come out in due course, but I thought it useful just to have a few notes in advance in case there was anything of interest. Okay, back to you then, Clive.
Thank you, Chair. On to item G on the report, which is a review of the independent review of the functions of the Public Service Ombudsman Wales themselves. We discussed the full report at the last meeting of the Standards Committee, but members will recall that the Ombudsman was going out to consultation with councils and with members about the issue as to when members would be first informed about complaints. Members will see from section G of the of my report that the Ombudsman, having had the consultation, has accepted the views of the independent committee, and so they will be now implemented in full.
Excellent.
Chair, the next item is about meeting dates. You'll see that we have a series of meeting dates, which are 9th of April, the 18th of June, and the 13th of October. These will all have already appeared in your electronic diaries, I hope. I'm sure that's the case. I'm not going to ask Carol because she'll tell me it's been done.
They're all there.
Thank you, Councillor William. And that's the basis of my report, Chair. If it's okay with you, I'll move to item 5 on the agenda.
Any questions for Clive? Okay, move on to item 5.
Thank you, Chair. Item 5 of the agenda is a report, annual consideration of the record of gifts and hospitality which have been declared by members, and for the period, this time for the period from the 2nd of February 2024 to the 5th of February 2025. Members will see in the report, which starts on page 13 of the agenda bundle, that members have declared gifts and hospitality. Those are contained in Appendix 1, which appears on page 15 of the bundle. Members will see there that some members have declared gifts and hospitality. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 gifts and hospitalities which have been declared. It's a matter for members who have been able to access those links and see what gifts and hospitalities have been declared. So thank you ever so much for consideration of the board. Take any questions.
My first response is that, from experience, I'm surprised at the so few declarations, particularly given the number of county councils this council has got. Do we need to have some sort of publicity campaign?
Nigel, it's a really good observation. What I can say is that Carol has, before this agenda went out, a couple of weeks before, did send an email to all members saying that this would be considered at this committee meeting. So they have had an opportunity and a reminder that of the need to record their gifts and hospitalities. I can't say any more than that. We have no way of knowing if this is correct. I assume it's correct because members, I appreciate members will record any gifts and hospitalities which they are required to do so. So it's nothing we can do about it, Nigel, I'm afraid. But I hear your comment.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of note that perhaps should I declare an interest at this point, Clive? Because obviously I did declare. So did Councillor Williams. So I'm just trying to be official. So if I just do that, just in case. So should I not say anything at that point, or am I allowed to say anything?
You could say what you want, Councillor Bev.
That's okay.
You've declared your interest.
That's okay. I didn't want to, you know. So I think, if I'm honest though, if you look at myself, so I filled it in and I went back and through my calendar, through my diary, and I did several all in one go, to be honest. So I was chairman at the time, so that's why several of those, well, that's why all of them were there probably. And I would think likewise, Councillor Jonathan's on the list. Councillor William has probably had 1 or 2 invitations because he's the Vice Chair Council. But in all honesty, I think perhaps just to reassure members, I mean, I may not be sort of the standard to the rule, but I would think that the majority of councillors don't actually receive an awful lot. I think maybe in years gone by, perhaps that did happen, but I've only had those things because I was chairman, and since being chairman, there's nothing. And that's not a complaint. That's just saying that's factual. I don't think there is things that are given to councillors. It's not that kind of, and that's good. We've got away from that sort of you know, system where people are given things. So I think, well, I'd like to think that's correct. I'm sure it's correct.
Thank you, Councillor Bev. I think that's really good assurance for the committee to understand your own perspective and the fact that since you've ceased to be chair, there've been no such opportunities given to you.
Oh, nothing.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Diolch Cadeirydd, thank you, Chair. I accept what Councillor Bev has said, which has been helpful for context. I had a slightly different query, and that is whether it would be possible for a little update to members to be shared at the appropriate time so that they perhaps get a better handle as to what is hospitality and what is kind of a form of hospitality to enable a function, a legitimate function to be carried out. For example, potentially attending an event which is an important event, such as perhaps Powys Business Awards, for example. If there's an element of hospitality that's in the context of providing of supporting an event which is a really important function for the county council in its wider mission and remit. Occasionally, also there might be an issue if as to whether or not people go and come back, or whether they seek the opportunity to lower their own carbon footprint and stay over at modest cost. I mean, things like this would perhaps be usefully clarified, particularly to the large number of relatively new members. I don't know, but it seems to me it could be there could be some merit in undertaking that when there's an opportunity.
Councillor William, if I can respond, I think that it's a really good opportunity, and if the Standards Committee thinks that that's an appropriate thing that we should do, certainly officers will arrange for that. But it's for the Standards Committee to decide whether that's appropriate or not, Councillor Powell.
Yeah, thank you.
Clive, isn't the guidance on hospitality and what's covered, etc.?
Yes, it's contained in the Constitution itself, but I think what Councillor William may be saying is that it may be perhaps overly legalistically worded and could usefully be enhanced
refreshed
by some by some sort of guidance. I think that's what Councillor William is saying.
Maybe the odd case study as well, the kind of thing that that Bethan, who provides updates on other issues around standards and codes of conduct. I think things are often made more clear by the use and deployment of case studies, examples, a little bit of interactivity. As Clive says, the rule book and the Constitution is very solid reading, but it isn't necessarily always as clear to the to the individual member as something a little bit more interactive.
Chair, I'm in the hands of the committee. If the committee thinks that it's appropriate, we look at this. I'm not aware of any code of conduct cases which have involved breach of code of conduct myself from any local authority. But we can review the Ombudsman's website and see if that's the case, and perhaps we could use that as an example, Councillor William. But I'm not aware of one myself. No,
that's fine. I don't want to over-egg this, and if colleagues are not particularly concerned about it, that's absolutely fine. Individuals can seek advice from yourself or Debbie, and it's uniformly forthcoming.
Okay, I think Nigel wants to.
Yeah, I fully support Councillor Williams' suggestion. Another approach, maybe a more casual approach, is when we meet the group leaders in April during the annual review.
Yeah,
we could establish a standard question to create a conversation at that time.
Yeah.
Just as a gentle nudge that we do need to know about this.
Yeah. Thank you. Excellent idea.
Just sort of take.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Russell?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll put that as an action then.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Right.
Chair, we're now on to item 6 on the agenda, which is consideration of the documentation which has been been prepared and drafted by Nigel. Can I thank Nigel on my behalf and on behalf of officers for the work that he has done in doing this and in agreeing to present the report, which you'll find at page 17.
And on behalf of the committee, thank you, Nigel, for all the hard work. This is a lot of work as well that you put into this. We much appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Right.
floor is yours.
Well, the report and the appendices that follow it really follow on from the meeting that we all had with the group leaders on the 30th of October. And my personal view of the meeting was that we needed to make some improvements to the process and the documentation, but at that particular meeting, none of us could really put our finger on what it was. What you've got in front of you now is my a solution from my personal thoughts, and I'd certainly like to thank Russell and also Councillor Ian for his comments, certainly around monitoring performance and holding people to account, which we reflected in the final version. But you've all seen the documentation, and thank you for feeding back primarily to save time at this meeting here. But the purpose of this new style is not in any way a criticism of what's gone on before. It's not a better way. I think what we should regard it as is a different way of trying to collect this information to allow Clive and Carol to produce a meaningful annual report. And when we see, as members of the Standard Committee, when we see the results from the information that we receive from the group leaders, they come in varying styles and varying standards. So that is underpinning the document that is in front of you today. For the people who really struggle with this, we've restyled the requests that were in the original form to specific questions and asking some very simple yes/no answers, and then encouraging them to provide some evidence concerning their grading, and then, as Councillor Ian has suggested, be very specific in terms of an action that they are going to take as a group leader. And we've got to be clear with this today, that this is not an action that we want or what we're going to control. It's an action that the group leader feels that is going to support their members. That in itself would then help Carol and Clive when they produce their annual report, because we would be able to provide some fairly substantial items on the work plan that goes forward into the forthcoming year. Much was made of support, and I've tried to really, following on from the previous conversation we've had, I've tried to simplify the documentation that was that we've circulated to group leaders in the past to something a little more simpler, again to help them channel their thoughts into what we really want on this bit of paper before we start the conversation on the 9th of April. I think I'll leave it there, just to say thank you to everybody who responded and input and made some form of input into the documentation. So I'll take questions or comments.
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks, Nigel. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you really for leading on this piece of work. It's much clearer, and I think the guidance note is really helpful. I'm really looking forward to the next meeting with group leaders, and I really hope that this new guidance ensures that we've got some consistency with the information provided. I think once we've trialled it, maybe it would be really helpful to share it with the wider monitoring officers group and get some feedback from others, from other local authorities as well. Maybe I don't know if we've done that already, but I'd be interested to see what they're trialling as well at the moment, what works for different areas.
Certainly, well, I think if we get through the 9th of April,
yes,
it's benefited us. I think we could leave it to Stefan and Clive to share,
yeah.
if it's deemed to be good practice,
Yeah.
for Stefan and Clive to share it at the groups they attend. Would that be acceptable, Clive?
Yes, Nigel. One thing which you've indicated in the recommendations to your report is that following the meeting with group leaders on the 9th, that the Standards Committee will then themselves reflect upon the use of it. And I think it's probably after that stage, after that piece of reflection, that we should share it with the wider monitoring offering group community.
Yeah.
Right, do you know what the other councils are doing in terms of contact with the group leaders and the type of form? Is it the one that we've been using in the past, or have we gone off on their own?
Chair, most other councils are using the form which we have used in the past, which we've decided to move away from, which is absolutely fine for our Standards Committee. I think that once we've used it and reflected upon whether we think it's better, or which I'm sure it will be, we can then report back to the monitoring office group so they can consider whether they want to use it themselves.
Thank you. Of the councillors, I'm certainly not group leaders, but do you have any particular observations to make? I know you already made yours. Oh, Councillor.
I was just going to say, I think this form is much improved from last year, and I think it seems really good. So hopefully at the next meeting, I think it's going to be really beneficial. Actually, I think it's much better. So I think it's perfectly acceptable as it is now. I don't think we need to change anything, and I can't see anything that we need to amend anyway. I think it's fine.
Thank you, Councillor William.
Thank you. I would agree with those comments. I think coming from Bev, it's particularly noteworthy because on the last occasion she was on the other side of the table, so to speak. So you can speak with some greater authority than perhaps the rest of us. I think it's a significant improvement, and I'd just like to put on record my thanks to those of you who've been particularly leading this process. I think it's certainly something for us to run with for the April meeting, and let's see how that goes. But I'm optimistic that it's going to be represent an improved situation altogether.
Okay, so again, thank you both for all the hard work. Right, we'll use the form as is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Chair, I can see on that there are people in the lobby which wanted to join the subgroup. Carol, have you already messaged them to say that we're running a little bit behind and we'll be with them as soon as possible? We're almost there now, but I think it's as a matter of courtesy we should just warn them that we are running a little bit behind.
Yeah, Clive, I have advised them as soon as
Thank you ever so much, Carol. Thank you, Carol. Chair, we then on to item 7 in the agenda, which is the forward work programme. Members will see this starts on page 33 of the agenda bundle. The work programme consists of a meeting on the 9th of April, which is the meeting with group leaders. We then have our normal quarterly meeting on the 18th of June, and the matters which will be discussed at that matter are listed there. We then also have a meeting on the 13th of October 2025, again with the items, one item mentioned there. Chair, as I indicated in previous matter, one of the recommendations from Nigel's report was that we review the use of the new format for meetings with group leaders, and because the meeting on the 18th of June has a somewhat fuller agenda, and the meeting on the 13th of October has a single item agenda essentially. Perhaps members would consider we should deal with that issue at the 13th of October. But again, it's a matter for Standards Committee.
Seems like a very good suggestion to me. Anybody dissent? No? Okay, so
Or could I propose we review it on the 9th of April as part of at the end of the annual meeting? We know whether it works by then. It's all fresh in our minds.
We can have a general discussion, but we probably want to write that.
yeah, and consider it in a bit more detail, but yeah, we could have an initial review.
Yes, of while we're waiting for October.
Yeah. Okay.
Chair, I'm not sure what the decision of the committee was on that.
So I think the main review of it will be in October, but we'll have a discussion at the end of the meeting on the 9th of April for our initial thoughts.
Fine, thank you very much.
Right. I think that's everything then, isn't it?
That's the end of this session, Chair. We are having a subcommittee meeting for community councils immediately following this. It's the same meeting, I think.